Hi all, this is Skate, and this video should only be a short one, but I just wanted to throw this video up to discuss a few things like the provisions and consumable changes. And also the biggest thing being discussed at the moment is the changes in the silver efficiencies and income you earn from battles. Before I do that though, you'll note I have my Super Pershing on the screen. Now the reason being is the last video I threw up was the Super Pershing Do's and Don'ts guide. Now, since putting that guide up, there's been a big change or buff made to this tank, and it's made an exceptional difference. They've buffed the traverse speed and the ground resistance. If you haven't played your Super Pershing since the update, I strongly recommend doing so. Oh, it's so much faster, it actually plays like a medium tank now. I even overtook a Centurion the other day. If you're not a Super Pershing driver, that's a big deal. You don't overtake anything in the Super Pershing. Couple those changes to the new provisions and you have a very mobile, heavily armoured medium tank. I've actually seen the top speed on this tank plenty of times now, whereas before I never saw it at all. I'd actually go as far as saying they've actually made it a little bit OP as a result. So aside from the Super Pershing changes, obviously there's been a couple of other major changes in update 2.9, which include this provisions tab. Now, effectively what they've done is taken the 10% to crew mastery consumable, stuck it in provisions, and added a couple of others. There's not a lot I can tell you about these provisions, which you don't already know and is already explained in the game. Personally though, I only use the 10% to crew mastery and 3% to crew mastery on my normal tanks, and I will use the improved fuel as well on my premium tanks. The reason being, quite simply, is they are very expensive to run, which, as you've probably already seen, is causing a lot of complaints with Wargaming. The fact that this and the new changes to silver income is actually making a lot of people lose money even after having a great game. The standard fuel provision I personally think is a waste of time. For the sake of the amount of silver you're spending for 3%, you might as well spend that little bit more and go the whole hog for the 10%. And if you're driving a German tank or anything from the KV range, in fact including the new Object 263, you want that protective kit on it. 20% to fire protection, that's a big bonus. As I said, you can lose silver as a result. If you are happy to make up your silver loss by driving premium tanks afterwards, you can do it. I personally though would rather run without and make that extra bit of silver during each game. So I think with these it does come down to your personal preference whether or not you want to add this extra bonuses to the tank. If you add the 3 most expensive, it does actually make a very noticeable difference to your tank, but it also makes a very noticeable difference to your income. I've had a good few mastery games since update 2.9 in which I've done great. I haven't fired very much APCR or premium ammo at all, and I've still lost a substantial amount of money, sadly. I don't think these losses are solely down to the provisions. I also think it's based on the silver coefficiency changes they've made. As a result, I think it's a mix of the two, which is making you lose money. As a result, I'd say keep the provisions to a minimum, unless obviously you're in a premium tank, or you don't mind losing the income and making it up for it with extra games in premium tanks afterwards. Obviously the other big changes are to the consumables and the refresh time on them. One thing I do want to point out hasn't been mentioned at all anywhere is if you notice on the adrenaline, it's no longer 25% to load speed, it's now only 20%. I haven't seen that mentioned in any notes or anywhere else. Same with engine boost, it's only 20% to the power now rather than 25%. I may have missed it, but I don't actually think it's been noted anywhere. I haven't seen anyone discuss it either. Obviously the other difference is it's 15 seconds now rather than mind blank 30 seconds for the duration of it. Now for me, I always kept my adrenaline for that one scenario where I'm one-on-one with a tank and suffering and I want to obviously win. I can't do that anymore, or if you do, it only lasts 15 seconds, it's not really viable. Instead I try to use the adrenaline perk now for dishing out as much damage as I can. I'll use it early on in the game now, as with before I used to hold on to it. Using it early on means you can then refresh it later on when you potentially will need it again. As with if you save it for halfway through a match, you then can't use it for another 90 seconds, it might be too late. So my personal opinion is as soon as you see a tank, get your adrenaline going, and then obviously a little bit later on it allows you to use it when probably you will need it. Before I end this video though, there is one major thing I wanted to discuss, was the changes to the silver efficiencies, or co-efficiencies. There have been massive complaints to Wargaming. There's been loads of meetings in regards to it, from clan leaders, huge amounts of complaints. It is something I know for a fact Wargaming are looking at, and although we can't guarantee they are going to make changes, I think it's fair to say, due to the amount of complaints and feedback they're getting, it's something I reckon, or think, they probably will change. Mr. Conway released a statement, obviously, for Wargaming earlier on in the week. They're actually having a internal meeting next week with game developers and game designers to discuss this. They are also running stats on the servers to obviously get all the information they need to make appropriate decisions. Things like this, though, they can't just assume it's something and change it. It could be linked to provisions and the silver efficiencies, or it could just be the silver efficiency. It has to be statted, so that is something they are doing. I know for a fact, as a result, it's not being ignored, and it is something they're taking very seriously and working very hard on. The only backlash to us, really, is because it has to be statted to make a correct decision on it. I don't think the changes will come in, or if they do make any changes anyway, I don't think they will come in until update 2.9. Now, obviously, by the time they've got the figures, they've reviewed everything, obviously had the meetings, etc, 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 it's not going to be until update 2.9. Bonus side of it, they might rush out update 2.9 to fix it, which means we may get more content earlier than planned. I don't know, this is just my speculation, but I would be pretty sure there will be no changes made until update 2.9 to the way things currently are. If I do hear anything, I will enter the information into a video and share everything I know with you guys. Now, over the next few days I will have a lot of videos being uploaded to the channel. I've been very quiet on videos this week, I haven't uploaded any, but I have been working behind the scenes, obviously obtaining the content. I think I've gone a bit overkill actually. Doing a couple of 263 reviews, I ended up with 2 hours worth of footage I need to filter through. So I'm going to cut that down, and hopefully that video will be up later this afternoon. And then in the next day or so I will also have the other 4 videos up for the other 3 tank destroyers, and a do's and don'ts for the SU-12244. So keep an eye on the channel, lots of content imminent. Other than that, the usual, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and obviously any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. Obviously this video is just me discussing a couple of changes made, and obviously the big thing, the complaints on the income earnings. Like I said earlier in the video, as soon as I know anything different, or as soon as I get any information, I'll make sure I share it with you guys in a video straight away. Obviously thank you for watching as well, and catch you soon.